Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Nice looking Friday. John Sotomayor is in the captain's chair. This is Ocala Magazine Radio, and John Sotomayor is your host. He's the executive editor of Ocala Magazine. Good morning, John.
Morning, Larry. How are you?
Pretty good. You got a good lineup today. Looks like you got a few guests in the studio already.
That's right. Yeah, we have a wonderful show today. We're going to be talking about the latest in music production in Ocala.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, and in particular, Nick Lauren's new single. Nick Lauren is an accomplished singer-songwriter, actor, and TV host. Also very famous for being John Travolta's stunt double. And we have him on the show, as well as my guest, Ramses Merchan, who's a music producer.
Okay.
And Charles Pierre, also a music producer and vocal coach. So I was able to attend Nick Lauren's performance in Jacksonville last Saturday for the song "I'd Die For You." It was at Tastefood Studio, and it was very well received.
Nice.
Yes, and I think we have Nick on the phone.
Yes, you do. Okay, Nick, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good, Nick. How you doing?
Doing good. It's actually "I'd Die Without You." Weren't you? I thought I saw you singing the lyrics while you were sitting out there.
I was.
Saying, "I'd die for you." I mean, I guess it all works, but yeah. What's going on?
Good, Nick. Good. We're here to talk about your song. We have a copy of it. Is that right, Larry?
Yes, Joe's getting it ready right as you speak.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Well,
Very
Nick,
cool.
why don't you tell us about the song before we listen to it?
Well, you know, this song is actually, it's a remake. It's the first time I've ever, I always do original songs, always, you know, I mean, that's, you know, part of the art. But this is something that was out in the early 90s, and I was just inspired, you know, I just was inspired to do this song. I had heard it again after 15 years or something, and I was like, I really love that song. And so many of, obviously, you know, the younger generation, I don't want to date myself or anything, but some of the younger kids out there have never heard this song before. And I thought, how horrible is it that they've not had a taste of some of what was going on, you know, when we were, well, I'm not going to date you either, but when I was a little bit younger, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I just really was inspired to do the song. It's a fantastic song. And, you know, the wonderful, wonderful producers that you have sitting there in your studio.
That's
you are
right.
graced with their presence today. Ramses and Charles, you know, we've been working on things together for a while, and Ramses and I, you know, put this one together. Ramses produced the track for it, and we recorded it in his studio right there in Ocala. So it was just, you know, it was a lot of fun.
Excellent. We have the song. We're going to listen to it right now, okay?
All right, here it goes.
Cool.
Cool.
All right, it's not there. Hold on. It's not there, Joe. There's nothing happening.
Oh, we'll come back to it then.
Oh, here it goes. Here it goes.
Okay,
Here it
here
goes.
it
Here it goes.
Is it my turn to wish you were lying here? I tend to dream you when I'm not sleeping. Oh, is it my turn to fictionalize my world? To even imagine your emotions, to tell myself anything? Oh, is it my turn to hold you by your
That's Nick
hand?
Lauren's latest song, "I'd Die Without You." Smooth, right?
You got. He wasn't
nice
reading that.
Very sexy the way you said that, John.
Thanks, Nick.
I feel the love, boys.
Thanks. I'd like to.
I'd die without you. Oh, boy.
I'd like to ask Charles and Ramses to tell us their parts in it. Guys?
Well, initially when I first met Nick, he was really adamant about this song. He was like, he sent me a link. He's like, check out this song. You think you could remake this? And I was like, of course. I remember the song very, very well from, like you said, from, you know, like what the late, was it the late 90s, John?
I think it was early. I think it was on the Boomerang soundtrack, with Eddie Murphy and Halle Berry.
Yeah.
I think it was 90. I want to say 94.
Something like
95.
that. And so I really took time to digest the song. I know a song had some clout because it was very well known then, and you know, and so when I reproduced it, I really took to the same tempo and everything, because I knew people would remember it, and I didn't want to take it too far based from the original, because the original was so good too, and since Nick was familiar with it, so it just came to that, and we just got in the studio and hashed it out and worked on it, and it just came out to it. It just flowed really well, you know,
Awesome.
and especially with Nick's talent. I mean, the guy can blow, you know. This guy is no.
Bubbles.
It's
They
like
can blow
bubbles. This dude can sing, you know, and it was a lot of fun when we started recording it and working on it together. So
And talking about his singing, Charles, you were part of that, right?
Yes, I was. I made the tea and coffee.
With that accent, it was honestly, let's be honest, Charles, it was crumpets and tea.
Oh, sorry, yeah,
Crumpets and tea.
crumpets and yeah, little cucumber finger sandwiches. Lovely. Actually,
Right.
Nick, I've got a bone to pick with you, Nick.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead.
I've got a big bone.
Let's do it live on air. Why not?
Let's do it. It's terrible.
What you
You know, there I was getting up at the crack of midnight this morning to come to the TV show, and I'm skating down my drive because it was that cold. And I thought, wait a minute, Nick Lorenz sitting in his house with his PJs and his slippers on, sipping a cup of coffee.
You mean for today?
Yeah.
Yeah, for today. And then Ramses and myself have to go in makeup and hair and all this kind of stuff. That's just wrong.
Yeah, because you have a face for radio.
You know, you got to look good to come on radio.
Actually, Nick, you're preparing for your own show, correct? You have one today?
Yeah, actually, I'm not sitting in my room in my PJs. And I'm about to go, you know, they're about to go put some powder on my face here in a minute. But yeah, I'm getting ready for, I host a show, and we're just going into our third year. It's been a very successful run here on NBC in Jacksonville, Florida. But it goes in South Georgia, down through all of Jacksonville, down to, not quite down to where you guys are, unfortunately. I think you guys get the Orlando stations or affiliates
Yes.
down there.
Yes.
But it's called First Coast Living. I co-host with Casey Black DeSantis, and we've been just going into our third year. So we've got a pretty big audience that tunes into us for some reason. I have no idea, every day at 11 o'clock live. So, you know, it is what it is.
It's a great show, Nick.
And then it re-airs every day at 2 p.m. So it's an hour show. It's a magazine-style entertainment show. We have a lot of fun.
Awesome.
I get to, throw salt in the wounds and be a goofball, and for some reason they pay me for it. Don't tell them I said that. But
I won't. Your secret's safe.
yeah, thank you. But it's fun. I mean, today we got Dan Marino and James Brown on talking about the big pregame, who their choices are and all that good stuff. We've got Big John Henderson, who used to be a Jaguar. He's here. He's opening a new restaurant, so he's going to cook for us. So we got this big old Jaguar dude going to be cooking on our show. We've got, a music group, Grandpa's Cough Medicine, which is amazing on today. And I mean, that's kind of what we do. We like to showcase things that are going on around our area, and obviously the big events that are happening. And
Okay,
I know a lot of fun doing it.
I know your time is limited, but before you go, I'd like to ask you a few more things to share with our listeners.
Do you have a bone to pick too? Or?
No, I don't have a bone.
Okay, good.
Tell us about some of the other work that you're doing. You have some other projects you're working on?
I told you that was going to be a loaded question.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to know about? How about I'll stay kind of more local to you guys.
Sure.
There's a film that I'm producing, and actually Boaz DeVere, who is up in Gainesville, had brought this to me a few years ago and presented it to me, and I was hiring him to direct something and take care of something for me, and then he threw this back at me. We were on the phone. I was at a Starbucks in Los Angeles, and he's telling me this story, and I was just bawling by the time he was done. I mean, it's such an inspirational, amazing story about Gloria Jean Merrick. She was a average school teacher working in a crime-ridden, poverty-stricken area of Gainesville, Florida, with these kids that, otherwise, I mean, they're sons and daughters of of some of drug addicts, some of, you know, a one-family home, and it's just, you know, a lot of these kids go to school hungry every day. This woman, it was when I think 2007, 2008, when the FCATs were kind of, you know, the thing. Everybody had passed this test, and her school got an F. She was able to single-handedly turn not only her class around and create this whole new way of teaching, which the kids got, and they understood it, and they excelled. She took her school from an F to an A in 1 year.
Wow.
Not only was it an A school, you could not pay to take your kid to any private school in Florida. Biggest turnaround in Florida history, but any private school, the scores that those kids got in that school in 1 year were higher than any other school in Florida.
That's an amazing story, Nick.
What has happened now as a result is she's transformed really the way that education is looked at. It's not only UF has now created the Master Teachers Initiative, which is inspired, excuse me, by Gloria, and we have the rights to it. Boaz has done a documentary, which he is editing, but he brought it to me because we want to make a feature out of it. I've attached director Jay Russell, who's a dear friend of mine. Same thing. I took him out. We were out at a restaurant talking about a project we were working on, and at the end, I'm like, Jay, there's something I want you to direct. You got to hear it. And I told him the story, and he's bawling at the end of it.
Yeah.
So he's like, really, in a restaurant? Really, you had to do this to me? So Jay directed My Dog Skip. We did Ladder 49 with him. He directed that. He directed The Water Horse, and he's an amazing storyteller, and he's the right person to do this. And I've also teamed with Sean Daniel, who directed, he did Michael with John years ago. He did Tombstone. He did all the Mummy films, and we've partnered up to co-produce this film. It's an amazing story, and it's a local story really for you guys because it's right out of Gainesville.
Excellent.
Other than that, you know, back on the music, I kind of took a break for a minute, and I'm really just got the bug again. You know, I got involved. Music was a passion for me.
Yeah.
And that's why I did it in the beginning, you know what I mean? And then when it became a business, it kind of, you know, it's just not a good business right now, unfortunately. It's a very tough industry to be in, and you gotta find the passion in it again. You gotta find the love for it, and really do it for that reason. When I got into it for the business, and then the business end of it wasn't that great, I had to kind of take a step back, and now I remember why music has always been a part of me, and why it inspires me, and I'm back to doing it because I love it. And if things, you know, if it goes, fantastic. If it doesn't, you know, become this big business, it's okay, because you got to do things because you love it. You got to do things because they inspire you, and they move you forward. But I'm just talking away. Go ahead, ask another question.
Well, we're looking forward to your music because it's good, and the movie as well. You mentioned that it involves children. You're also working on another project, a children's book. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have a series, Farfel Fulong from Oolong Panchu and the Gray Bubble Goo.
Say that again?
I'll tell you the story. We'll have to do this on another one, but I'll tell you the story one day. But I wrote this, basically I came in one day, I was outside doing something, I came inside, and my son was drawing, with my wife, was drawing this adorable little alien furry creature. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that? And it was just so cute, you know what I mean? So I go to bed that night, and I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's always my magic hour. I don't know if I would say a stroke of brilliance or whatever, but a stroke of something. I don't know. But I had his name, Farfel Fulong, and then I'm thinking he's fur, he's hair. I'm thinking of shampoo. I'm changing that to Panchu. I've got all these ideas going through my head, and I'm like, if I don't get up and write this down, I will never remember it.
Right.
So I get up at 3 in the morning, and I start writing, and I write Farfel Fulong from Oolong Panchu and the Gray Bubble Goo, and I start writing it, and I didn't change a word, and at 6 o'clock in the morning, it was done. It literally wrote itself.
Wow. And when can we look forward to that?
I'll give you a little taste.
Okay.
You may not have known, but for millions of years, the Fulongs from Oolong Panchu visit here. They're cuddly and furry, they're black and they're white, from a far away planet that twinkles at night. Our story takes us to this magical place, and to Farfel Fulong with a smile on his face. On Oolong Panchu, there's no color, that's right. No color all over, just black and just white. And the gray bubble goo that grows and grows. It grows and grows and grows and grows. It grows so much it's taken over the highest mountain, the smallest Clover. That's all I'm gonna give you right now.
Oh man, that's awesome. I want to listen to
It's
more.
like a modern day Dr. Seuss.
Yes, it is. Nick, man.
That story in particular is now being made into an animated short at Lucasfilms in San Francisco.
Wow.
And I'll fly out there. They've been working away for months now. Charles actually produced the music for it, who's sitting right there next to you.
Yeah.
He's doing the whole soundtrack, kind of scoring to it, creating all these new ethereal kind of, he could explain it much better when I get off the phone. Obviously,
Okay.
he can explain kind of where he's going musically with it, but it's so cool, and it's just going to be this beautiful piece. Once you guys, once we get there and I show you guys the work that they've done, it's just an astounding amount of work. They're so talented over there, and I'm just honored to, now be part of that process.
Right. Well, congratulations, Nick, on all your success, and thank you for coming in and talking to us and sharing all these things that you're working on. I hope that you are a guest of mine again when these other projects come to fruition.
No way. Not if you can't get the name of the songs right.
I'll practice it. I'll practice. Thanks again, Nick.
All right, have fun.
Okay, bye.
I'll see you.
Bye, Nick.
See you later, Nick.
Okay, that was Nick Loren, and he mentioned the work that he's done with you, Charles. Tell me more about that, and tell us about yourself, how you got in the music business.
Yeah, I kind of tripped and fell over it, really. I was at a very dark part of my life. My father had just died, and to cut a very long story short, I literally bumped into a friend in London who said, "Oh, do you want to work in a music store?" So I said, "Yeah, okay." So I worked in retail, music retail, for a very short while, but everything escalated at an enormously quick rate, and I ended up working with some amazing people in London, primarily on television first. Then I met this guy called Barrington Phelan. I was introduced to by Martin Phillips, one of the original producers of London Beat. And Barrington was, you may not know him here, but he wrote the music for a very big British drama, detective drama called Inspector Morse. Anyway, having gone through that, I then got into a band called Soul to Soul, famous for the song Back to Life. I was in that for about a year. And then eventually, moving on swiftly, having produced and worked with several different people, I got into London Beat.
Wow.
And became New London Beat with Jimmy Helms. And we went around the world again with more songs. So really, that's a really quick potted history, but I've had the pleasure of working with some incredible artists as a backing
Including
singer.
you too, right?
Yeah, including you too. That came out of the Soul to Soul connection.
Excellent.
Also, I've been on tour with Babyface.
Yes.
Famous for having, owning LA Face Records, La Face Records, and people like Usher and
Madonna.
Madonna and Justin Bieber and all these
Right.
great people. So that was a fantastic tour for three weeks with Benny Medina,
Yes.
Mariah Carey's manager. Also worked with wonderful folks like Michael Bolton, Vanessa Williams, and several others that I've forgotten because I'm old.
And you arrived here in Ocala about 5 years ago?
Yeah, that sprawling metropolis of music fantasticness.
Great.
It was kind of by default. Actually, we were introduced to various people here, Ramses and myself, through a similar connection. But I came here through a music manager from England, and we kind of stayed because just liked the space and loved the horses and loved the color and kind of community, really.
Well, we're glad you're here. We'd really love to see some advances in the music industry here, right, Larry?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah. And what about you, Ramses? Same question.
Well, it's a long story. I kind of grew up with music all my life. My father was a big apparition for that. I mean, ever since I can remember, I was my dad's right-hand man. He always took me around with him everywhere, whether it be singing, hanging out with musicians, and therefore, so it's always been a part of me.
What kind of music was he involved with?
He was. My dad's, I'm Latin, so my dad was into Latin music, but my dad was real and eclectic. He would have like Ramsey Lewis records, or he was really eclectic, Motown field type stuff. So he really brought me in. I really brought up with that kind of musicality around me, where it was just a little bit of everything: Spanish,
Right.
R&B, pop, and old school records, so it was that kind of environment all the time.
And you were born and raised somewhere else before?
Yeah, I
Ocala?
was born and raised in Chicago, and then my family being, Chicago was getting kind of crazy, so we had some family here, and my parents loved it, and at first we loved it, and then we moved down here, so it's been here ever since. So.
Okay, and you also interned in New York City, is that correct?
Yeah, well, after high school I went to Full Sail, and then after that I worked out of New York for a bit, and then for other reasons, I met up with Bruce Swedien, and then ever since then I just been working under him and working with other plethora of artists and stuff like that. So just been trickling down and working more and more ever since then.
Now, for our listeners out there, you need to know that Bruce Swedien is a huge music producer and an icon in the industry. Tell us more about him.
Yeah, Bruce Swedien, if you recorded all of Michael Jackson's records, but before that he recorded a lot of the Duke Ellington, Joe Williams, just everybody since from the 50s, and he's been a huge impact on how we listen to music today, and his sonic personality just lives on through music for a long time. So me meeting up with him, and we just hit it off so well. He's not only been a mentor for me, but a really good friend, He's shown me so much. I met him right after I graduated Full Sail, before I went to New York, and then we just always kept touch. And when I came back down, he was like, "Hey, you know how to use Pro Tools, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know how to use that." He goes, "Well, come on, let's go. We need to cut this record." And then ever since then, we just been together, and
So you were his assistant here in Ocala, and I think what our listeners need to know is that you also have your own studio now, right?
Yes. I partnered up with a good friend of mine, Adam Hunt. He kind of pushed me to, I was kind of skeptical at first because that's a big deal, having a building, it's investment, it's money, and he's always been on my side pushing me. He's like, "Yo, you gotta do it. Ocala needs it," and there's a lot, and it is. Ocala has a ton of plethora of talent here, So when we got together, I just got with him and we built the studio, and it's been doing pretty well. I can't complain.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell me, both of you guys, how did you meet Nick? I know Nick talked about it a little bit, but if you guys can go into more and then got involved with that project.
Well, you want me to go first?
Yeah,
okay. Well, like Charles said, being in what we're doing, you get to meet a lot of people. So I met Nick through Sheila and Don Polar from Ocala's Mono Talent. They had plenty. They're great people. Great. What they do for the kids here is amazing.
And what people may not know is that Nick Lauren had worked with Ocala Models Talent, teaching a workshop and acting.
And definitely, and they had a relationship with Nick and John Travolta. And when I had met them, helping them produce and record some of the students that they had mentioned to me about Nick Lauren, and they got me in contact with Nick Lauren, and then from there, then that's pretty much how we built our relationship.
And you, Charles?
Yeah, similar thing. I'd met Nick through OMT about 3 years ago, I guess, doing a workshop. I was doing a kind of vocal performance workshop. I actually coach vocalists and teach singing technique and all that good stuff. And I'd met Nick down there. Really, we've just kept in touch ever since then, working for the last 3 years, more or less.
Okay, excellent. We're coming to the close of our show, but before we do, can you guys tell us about your upcoming projects?
Yeah, there's the Nick project. There's whispers of a solo album from myself, and also diverse. I'm actually doing some more workshops for the ASA, which is a Step Ahead academy down in the villages, brand new academy. So keep an eye on that. A wonderful bunch of people down there doing dance, acting, singing, and Nick's going to be involved in some workshops down there too. That's about it for now. There's other stuff, but I won't talk about it just yet. Maybe next time.
You don't want to talk about that other international thing? Maybe later.
Yeah, next time.
Okay, all right. I'll hold you to that. You'll be a guest again. And you, Ramses?
Oh, same as him. I got two artists that I'm working with. One is Naima. She's based out of L.A., and another one that I'm personally producing. Her name is Milka Ramos, the rockabilly Latin girl, great. Working on her project, and of course working with Nick Lauren. I already got some other tracks on the works. it's gonna be really dope. And I'm hoping that me and Charles can get together and
Very much.
man, 'cause we've been talking for a while now to get together and really start working together because we both have a good thing going on. So
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
look forward to
very
it.
much
So.
Excellent. Well, thank you, both of you guys, for being
All right,
on my
thank
show
you.
today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
I just want to share with our listeners before we go that this is a fantastic thing that I don't think a lot of people know about, Larry, that we have right here in our community. We have music being produced locally with local talent and actually working with talent from other places like LA, New York,
Very
Miami.
cool. Yeah.
So it's amazing. In a future episode, we're going to have another music producer in town that I wrote about in our January feature. It's Robert Smith. We look forward to that and other shows coming up.
All right. Very cool. Another good show in the can, and you guys have a great Super Bowl weekend.
Thank you, Larry. You too.
Thank you.
We will take a little break, and we'll be right back.